Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves, number 106. And what could be more appropriate for video number 106 than Beethoven's Opus 106, which is nothing less than the devastating, imposing, mythological, iconic Hammerklavier Sonata, played by Maurizio Pollini on Deutsche Grammophon. Oh, baby, this is something serious, very serious. Now, the Hammerklavier Sonata has this aura that surrounds it, and as a result of the aura, performances, of which there are innumerable performances, are always criticized in minute detail, teensy, tiny detail. Like you can't believe how much teeny tiny detail because, well, it's an excruciatingly difficult piece to play. But more than being difficult to play, it's a tough nut to crack as a listener. And the reason is really fairly easy to put your finger on. The reason is because it's not thematically all that interesting, at least not until you get to the Adagio and that part of it. It's actually a fairly cool piece emotionally, except for the Adagio, of course. And for that reason, I think people are always trying to push to make more of it perhaps than it really is. I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to say that it's not a monument and all of that stuff. I mean, it is that. But what I mean is people are always trying hard to sell it. And Beethoven, I don't think, wanted sold. I think he wanted it to be a really tough nut. And that's what it is, because it was perfectly suited to people like myself who are form whores. If you're a form whore, then you love the Hammerklavier Sonata, because that's what it's really about. It's really about form. It's about the language of music and how Beethoven is addressing how the language of music is going to come together in this new synthesis that characterizes virtually all of the works of his late period, of which this is one of the very first, from about, 1818, something like that. And how does that work? Well, I mean, so let's be very clear. The first movement is in standard sonata form. Well, it's not so standard because the second subject is not in the classic dominant key. It's in a different key, but it doesn't matter. It's a second subject. But the tunes aren't that interesting. You know, the opening is bum ba ba dum ba da dum ba 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 da ba da da ba ba da 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 da. You know, I mean, it's not bad. It's just not, catchy. It's not immediately arresting. And as a result of that, the first movement comes off as relatively neutral expressively. The second movement is only a couple of minutes long. It's a delightfully funny scherzo and trio. I mean, the return of the scherzo and the coda is unbelievably humorous and witty. And wit is always lovely, but it's kind of a dry wit, It's not the kind of thing that's going to get you like panting and heaving. It's just insouciant is the word. And then you've got this 20-minute long, or in this case 17 minutes and 9-second long Adagio. It's incredibly long. It requires tremendous concentration. It's very beautiful. It's like one of Beethoven's most sort of transcendental things. But transcendental does not mean singable tunes. Transcendental means stasis. It means floating harmonies. It means intensely hushed concentration. It's tiring music, and it's very, very long. And then the finale, well, the finale is just one of the most difficult things to play in the entire piano repertoire. It's a fugue, sort of like a triple fugue. It's on like 3 different subjects, and they're all developed and twisted around. And, Beethoven does his usual angular stuff with lots of dissonance and chromatic stuff banging and crashing through it. I mean, it's a thrilling piece of music when it's played as well as Maurizio Pollini manages to do there. But it's still a tough piece to wrap your brain around. And that makes it fun, I think. I mean, I like the challenge. I really do. But it took me quite a while to get into it. This was not my impression recording, but when I heard Pollini do it, I said, oh, this guy can play. Oh, can this guy play? This was the first performance that, for me, really surmounted all of the work's challenges in good sound, in a way that really brought me into the work. And Pollini, I think he's actually sort of declined actually as a pianist in the past decade or two. But this was when he was at his very, very height. And remember, this came out in a multi-disc set of all the late Beethoven sonatas, and everybody thought it was the reference version of those pieces for quite a while. I mean, it was universally acclaimed, or just about. And it really is a tremendous achievement. I still love it. And when I want to hear the Hammerklavier, this is the one I whip out. It also comes with the Sonata number 28, the one that just precedes the Hammerklavier, in an equally impressive performance. The date on this was 77. Wow, 1977. I didn't first hear it in 77. I would have been 16 when this was actually released. And I heard it around that time, maybe 17 or 18. No, 16, 17. That's about right. It was pretty new at that time. And I just really thought it was dazzling. I was playing the piano back then very badly. And so I had some idea of, what the piece was supposed to sound like. I would sort of look at it and just go, oh, no. That's not happening. And so I was really dazzled to hear pianists tackle it. My first versions of these actually were not Pollini's at all. I'm trying to remember. I had Schnabel, and I had oh gosh, who was it? I don't even remember. I had some Beethoven piano sonata cycle that I was listening to. It's okay. The Hammerklavier is a beast. And I don't think there's any point in pretending otherwise, and I don't think there's any point in trying to oversell it. I don't think the piece is for everybody. I think that it requires a certain amount of experience and a desire to hear what the language of music is going to do. And what do I mean by the language of music? I just want to make this clear because I've talked about it before. And Beethoven, in his late works, was looking to find some kind of what's the word? Some kind of mixed synthesis. That's the word. Oh, goodness gracious. Synthesis between the dramatic sonata forms that he was used to working with and the rhetorical Baroque forms. Rhetoric. Rhetoric is, nothing really happens, but it's very impressive while you're doing it. It's talking about something. It's emphasizing certain things, but not in the sense of a sonata form where you have a drama which proceeds in time, a series of events and happenings that impact and change the melodic material. Whereas the rhetorical side, an orator is rhetorical, can be very impressive. It can be deeply moving, extremely and profoundly impressive, but nothing is changing. And Beethoven was trying to integrate these two kinds of writing. So you find in his late works fugues quite frequently. The late string quartets, the Grosse Fuge, for example, and the C-sharp minor thing that begins with a fugue. So, it's a very, very remarkable thing. And I just love the piece. I really do. This is the first attempt at that kind of synthesis that Beethoven was working on. And for that reason, it's almost like the triple concerto, which is really about concerto form as much as it is anything else. It's about what music can do under certain circumstances. And so as a result, it doesn't have that sort of emotional, it's not about tragedy. It's not about that kind of thing. It's about the language of music itself. And so there's something very essential and very basic about it. But at the same time, it's not going to keep you on the edge of your seat if you're looking for, affective emotional expression all the time. And so that's what it is. It is what it is. And I love it. Played by Maurizio Pollini. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.